Go. We are live. Welcome to the Comics Cube, everyone. We are live with James Windsor Smith, and we're talking about your Kickstarter for Papa Balloon and Cactus, but also we're just going to talk comics. James,
how are you
pleasure to
doing?
finally meet you, man. We have
Yeah,
known each other online for a long time.
yeah, it's been something like 3 years almost.
The whole pandemic.
Oh, definitely. Then it's been almost 4 years.
It's basically almost been 4 years, and I'm gonna ask you the same question I ask everyone, and you know what it is. Why do you love comics?
I don't really. I'm really more into
Ah,
stand-up comedy, and I think our wires got crossed somewhere. No, I've always loved comics. My first book was actually Top Dog from Star Comics. Uh,
wow! I remember Top Dog.
oh yeah. Well, my first issue was number 10, which was actually co-drawn by John Romita Sr. So I've tried to actually track down some of the original artwork, and most of the issues aren't worth anything. But my first one just happens to be like a comics legend, so go figure.
A comics legend drawing. Top Dog wasn't a licensed property, was it? It was a Marvel original.
Oh yeah, that is a Marvel original, but Spider-Man was in the issue, and John Romita actually drew the parts with Spider-Man.
James, before we go on, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paste the link to your Kickstarter in the chat. So
Okay.
anyone who wants to go back your latest Kickstarter, which has a week left to go, you guys go click that link and then you can go support it. We will be talking about it in a bit. James, tell me, so just so people have no confusion whatsoever, what is the relation, if there is any, to Barry Windsor Smith?
Oh, he's my granddaughter, actually. No, there's no relation. Obviously, this is a pen name. It's kind of tongue in cheek because first, good morning to Chauncey there, and Steve Peters. Hey, how you doing there? But yeah, there's no relation. I'd say like Barry Windsor Smith is kind of hoity-toity, and I'm pretty much the opposite. As you know, I'm into pro wrestling, and I'm pretty much a mixture of royalty and white trash.
I'm not allowed to say that, James.
Well, that's okay. International laws say it's okay.
Why did you end up staying in comics fandom? Why did you like comics? What made you realize that you wanted to make comics? Is there a particular issue, a particular character, a particular artist?
Yeah, back in the day, I'd say Dave Sim, like in the '90s, before all the controversy with Dave. I actually gave a speech as to who my hero was in high school, and it was Dave Sim at the time.
So what is it about Dave Sim's work at the
Uh,
time?
I think it's very original. That I think he's the best writer going. I put him on par with like Alan Moore. I'd say sometimes he can be better than Alan Moore. Sometimes,
Ooh.
obviously not, but you know. But yeah, I'd say that carried me through to around 2004. At my fandom, I'd say it probably has waned a bit since 2004. But but yeah,
Why did things happen in that area in 2004 and onwards?
well, in 2004, that's just when Cerebus ended. Was
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah, do you have a particular favorite Cerebus arc?
Yeah, Guys is my favorite. I like Guys and Rick's story. Those are post issue 186 where the infamous controversy goes down, where he pretty much announces, "Hey, world, I'm a misogynist."
I think for me, what astounded me about Cerebus wasn't really Dave. It was Gerard, man. Like
Well,
Gerard was just amazing.
exactly, he's next level. But if you see him on his own and you see his work on Cerebus, you can see where the difference lies.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, what about artistically? You got a very, very unique style. Where did you pick that up from?
Well, when I was about 20, I'm 45 now, by the way. And but when I was about 20, I decided to basically make my life an experiment and basically become like my own artist and reject any outside influences and any sort of advice, which is really stupid. Don't ever do that, everybody. Uh, but yeah, when I had my stroke, which was 4 years ago today, actually, this is actually the anniversary of
Happy
my stroke.
anniversary.
Well, thank you. I'm pretty proud of that.
I
But
would
yeah,
be. I
but
would be proud of it, man. You're still here.
oh
You're
yeah, and I've been through quite a
functioning
bit.
very
You know,
well. Yeah.
I've been tempered by life. But yeah, when I had my stroke, you know, that was kind of the end of that era of my life. But but old habits die hard, and I'd say like since I did like developed my own skill set, it's really hard to let go of a lot of the abilities I earned since then. But now I like study other artists and look at what everybody's doing, you know, and then try to adapt to my life.
Which artists are you currently looking at the most?
Uh, well, let's see. Jeff Manley from Riley the Teenage Bigfoot is a pretty big influence. I think he's very humorous. If you've ever read any of his books, if not, I can obviously send you something so you can check out his work. In fact, I already did. He's in the first issue of my comic, so
Yes.
he's got 4 pages in there. So you'll at least get a little taste of his work. Um, Obviously, I like Dave, you know, Hmm. Well, just a lot of the indie guys, really, from the kayfabe group. I love all those guys.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I first ran into you, the
Oh
Cartoonist
yeah, yeah,
Kayfabe
I
group.
remember.
Yeah, where so that particular group really champions that particular era of indie comics, right? You'd say
Oh yeah,
the 90s era.
yeah. In fact, so do I. Like but I'm on an opposite spectrum. Like I'm into like these indie guys that they're not really celebrating, like Terry S. Wood from Wandering Star, who is going to be in an upcoming issue like soon. Even though her series ended, like I think in the late '90s, was it? But yeah, she's gonna bring her characters back for the book. And Oliver Simonson has brought back Captain Zap, if you've ever seen that. But he's actually like done like strips with Mobius. So this guy's pretty awesome.
When you were growing up in the 90s, like when did you discover indie comics?
Yeah, the '90s. I think there was a big boom. I was into like Tug and Buster and like anything like a little bit underground and Eddie Campbell. I'm a big fan of Eddie Campbell.
So before that, what were you into?
Uh, Pretty much mainstream stuff. Like I'd say Watchmen was probably the groundbreaker. You know that really said, hey, there's a lot more out there. You know, the experiment, like explore. And I remember Rick Veitch with Rat Pack was really big. I remember an issue of Comic Scene that had preview art, and I was totally hooked just on the preview art. But yeah, I would basically get my comics at like a gas station. There was no comic stores around here. In fact, there still isn't. Like I just have learned to drive. So
Where you live? Where are you talking?
I'm
Like
in
which area are you talking about?
I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is you know just south of New York. You know
I've been to
that.
Lancaster. I know what you're talking about. Of
Okay, have you been to the comic store there? Or?
course not.
Oh, that's a shame. That's actually Tim Truman's comic store.
Really?
He doesn't own it; he's a customer. Just no
Yeah,
confusion there. But yeah, he's around there. I've never really run into him, but I know he goes in there.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
and
really
Jim
like his work.
Steranko's a town away. So it's kind of a cool area to be in.
That's awesome. That's
Oh,
awesome.
also, the Frank Frazetta Museum is pretty nearby. That's about maybe 2 hours drive away.
The Frazetta Museum's nearby.
Oh
You ever
yeah,
been?
there are two museums. There is a one in Florida and one in Pennsylvania.
Ah, okay. So the one in Florida is probably the one run by his
That's not
granddaughter.
what Frazetta Girls. I'm sure people are probably familiar with Frazetta Girls.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. James, tell me about like your particular tastes in comics, right? You like, I mean, because I want to build up to Papa Balloon and Cactus.
Right.
What leads up to that? What kind of comics do you read that kind of goes into a work like that?
So like think of like maybe Gru, maybe a little bit like Sergio Aragonés, and his comedic leanings there. But at the same time, I also want more of a realistic art style. So, well, yeah, I can't really name any influences really as
It,
far as the actual drawing style goes.
yeah, but what about the feel and the atmosphere that you're trying to get?
Oh, well, I'm trying something original. I don't think there's too many books out there that are actually like my book.
Yeah, no.
But at the same time, I think that's kind of a hindrance because it's not familiar, which is, a pretty big part of the industry.
So for the people joining us who aren't familiar with your book, tell me, if you were to summarize it in like 2 or 3 sentences, elevator pitch, what is it about?
It's about a really mean spirited balloon who adopts a cactus. Well, to put it a little bigger and to maybe spoil the Christmas issue a little bit, Papa Balloon is the father of several mythological figures, and he's actually, I haven't really revealed this much, but he's actually everybody's father. Like he's actually almost like a Norse god, but like he's the god of air, but he's placed inside of a balloon. If you can catch my drift there. So there's
No,
actually a lot more
catch your
to
drift.
him
I
than
see what you
meets
did
the eye
there.
yet. I'm sorry.
I said catch your drift. I see what you did there.
Oh yeah, and I
Good
came
one.
up with that as I was writing the book. I was like, wow, I didn't realize this character was a lot more than what he appears.
Yeah, I think that is something that comes up when I talk to writers a lot. Is like these characters take on a life of their own, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So right now you're on the third issue, right?
Yeah, it's my fourth comic, but it's the third issue because one of them was actually a holiday special.
So how's the reception been for the first three?
Pretty good, I believe. I haven't heard anything really negative. I've gotten one fan letter, like an actual like handwritten letter, from Margaret Liss, who runs Cerebus Fangirl, and I've heard a lot of reception online, and I haven't heard anything negative. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
That's really cool.
I've heard from obviously I've heard from Dave Sim. He's actually drawn two of my covers for my books for chase covers.
And again, everyone, the link to the Kickstarter is in the description as well as in the chat here. If you guys have any questions for James or any comments for James or anything you want to say to James, go ahead and type it out in the comments. So Kickstarters give you tiers and they give you stretch goals. Right now, your Kickstarter is very, very, very close with 6 days left to go of the $2,000 goal of $2,000. So you got 1,785 US dollars as we are speaking. That's $215 away. Once you meet it, what are the tiers here for people to buy the comic?
Well, here, let me pull up the Kickstarter here. Sorry, I should have done this before. I didn't really think of it. Well, I know that the first tier is actually PDFs of all 4 issues for $5. So if you've never tried the series, you're not really risking much. And obviously,
PDFs of all 4 issues for $5. That includes the Christmas special.
Oh yeah, and that the Christmas special was in color, by the way.
And the others are in black and white, right?
Oh yeah, they're generally there were going to be black and white books.
Can you talk to me about your covers? Because I know that Sam Royale has been your cover artist for some of these.
Oh yeah, Sam Royale of Dishoom Comics. If anyone is familiar with him, he's done the first 2 issues. He was only supposed to do the cover to issue number 1, but he is a Christmas nut. So when I was doing the special, I was like, dude, you got to do this. And of course, he was totally sold. There was no way to say no on that for Sam.
Your next tier after the 3 issues in the Christmas special is simply Papa Balloon and Cactus #3 for $8.
Well, first there's actually issue number 2,
Okay.
and then number 3. Number 3 is right now.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next one says the issue and an anthology.
Oh, yeah, so me and Steve Peters, who's in the chat, shout out to Steve.
Hey, Steve.
We basically did an anthology. I only did 8 pages of it, so he and Bianca Alumar put in the majority of the work. Shout out to her too, wherever she is. I'm not sure if she's in the chat or not, but yeah, they're also local Pennsylvania artists, but we've actually never met, despite us being somewhat close.
That's the way it is lately, isn't it?
Pretty much, you know. And
I mean,
and yeah,
you and I have talked for like 4 years, and we've only now quote unquote met.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, from what I understand, Robin Snyder, who worked with Steve Ditko pretty closely, is involved in the anthology as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Robin Snyder did the comics with Steve Ditko.
Yeah, that's right, and a lot of even some of his late DC work was Robin Snyder.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Oh yeah, they definitely go way back. But yeah, feel free to shout that out, Steve, if you hear that.
For $20, people can get one of the Dave Sim covers.
Oh yeah, in fact, that would be issue number 2, which is pretty limited. I only have about 20 copies of that left.
Yeah, it says that there's a very limited quantity. But what's it like seeing the legendary Dave Sim draw your character?
Pretty awesome, and he did a Neil Adams homage, which is also like has that Neil Adams feel. So that's even cooler.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And then there is the comic store value pack.
Oh yeah. I think it's like 5 copies of the new issue, and then 2 copies of every issue before that. You know, for like something like $40 or something like that. Yeah, it's $40. I believe, like, if you were at that level, you get the Dave Sim cover as well.
Yeah, so that's for comic shops to get so that they can stock it in their stores.
Exactly. So that's 50% off of the price. So you know, it's a pretty good deal. It's better than Diamond.
Okay, what is the mega level reward?
That's pretty much everything. That's the new comic, all the issues, and the 2 variant covers, which you know, is pretty good. And also the anthology is included. That was a later tier, but I decided it's only fair to, if you've subscribed to the mega level, you shouldn't have to buy something extra.
And then with some of these tiers, people also get extra stuff like the stickers.
Oh yeah, and I have magnets as well, but you know, I'm going to include those randomly. I've only got so many of those.
Postcards by Gerard.
Oh yeah, that's actually included with the Cerebus cover, which is signed by Dave Sim. I only have 3 of those though.
Yeah, so people, they're still here. So guys, if you back this now, you still have a chance to get those. And yeah, so the anthology. And I think that's it. Like, so tell me, like, what is the kind of, like, let's say the message that you're trying to convey or to communicate with something like Papa Balloon and Cactus?
I guess there's really not much of a positive message. The Princess Popo character that I haven't mentioned until now, but she is one of the main catalysts of the story. Everybody is searching for the lost princess, and it turns out she's a bit of a junkie, and a punk rock star now, and she's a bad influence on everybody. And like the frog character, Froggo, he's a junkie as well. So he's an unreliable narrator. Everybody's been like a smokescreen by his lies, including the readers up to this point, you know. So you just can't trust anything. Is it's kind of the message.
And you seem like you're having a lot of fun, James.
Like definitely, because like I said before, everything's a surprise to me. I know the characters somewhat, but they know themselves better than I know them. So,
Steve Peters says, nope, it's Robin Barnard.
oh, Robin Barnard, I'm sorry.
And okay, Chauncey Blakey asks, is there any comic advice James now would tell to James back at day one before you started?
Yeah, maybe eat less and don't have a stroke. Yeah, by the way, I lost like every sensation in this hand. I couldn't write my name. I couldn't draw a box, and I pretty much swore when I had the stroke that if I got those abilities back, that I would never take like comics and my abilities for granted anymore. And obviously, I've been true to that. But I've had a lot of setbacks along the way, involving actually, I had a second stroke. I don't know if you can see, but this is my right hand, which I can't really use much. But you know, I'm able to lift it a little bit, which is better than I had before. But you don't realize how much you need that hand to do art. So I had to switch to digital art, like just to basically do what I do. But I have a very grounded, realistic, you know, comic book style. A lot of people don't even know I work digitally, so you know, I
That's
think
true. I wouldn't have thought that.
yeah, you look at my stuff, and pretty much I'm doing what I would have done on paper, but it's sure a lot easier, I'll tell you.
You're right-handed?
I'm actually left-handed, so
You're left-handed.
fortunately,
Yeah.
yeah. Fortunately, I got that back, so that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, but let me ask you, like, if James now told James then not to eat too much and don't have a stroke, do you think James then would have listened?
Maybe, and you know, I'd probably be freaked out that I was meeting myself more than anything.
Dude, somebody asked me that question recently, and I was like, yeah, I would tell my 20-year-old self, don't eat well and don't have a heart attack.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was probably a dark period for you, huh? It took a while for recovery, or
A little bit, but then I said, like, then again, 20-year-old me probably would have said something like, well, evidently, I live.
yeah, apparently.
So I'm gonna eat whatever I want, sir.
Well, what do you think pushed you over the edge? Like was there a certain food or a certain anxiety or?
No, it was a fluke, man. Like, so what they basically told me was that my cholesterol level was normal, like percentage wise, as a percentage of my blood, right? Percentage of my system. It's just that
Right.
all the cholesterol went to one artery.
Yeah, that's weird.
And like, it's just, I'm like, all right, well, how am I supposed to know that? And they were like,
Right.
yeah, you couldn't have possibly predicted that. And I'm like, well, that's great. That's amazing. That would be my advice, is you never know what's going to happen.
Very true. Very sad, but true.
But James, let me ask you this, right? You have told me many times that after having a stroke, you felt your creativity increase like a lot.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, what
I think
happened there? Why do you think that is?
that you just kind of like after going through something like that, you just kind of wake up to like the reality and accept your mortality. Like I know now that you know comics won't be forever and life won't be forever. So just like seize life by the balls, you know.
So do you think there was anything to so now that you're not taking comics for granted, you're not taking your talent for granted, it's just like, fuck it, I'm making comics, man.
Yeah, and well, I made a comic back in 2010, and it actually featured the Cactus and Balloon characters, but they really didn't feel right, you know, like there was too much like wishy-washy feelings and like too much like self-doubt. I'd say if anything, I have more confidence in my abilities and my in my creativity, and it kind of pointed in the arrow and said, "No, trust yourself. This is exactly what all your characters would do, and just accept it." You know?
James, you're one of the most positive people I know on the internet, which is, I know it's a low bar to be positive on the internet, but you're one of the
Yeah.
most positive people I know on the internet.
Hey, let's
And
randomly talk negative politics.
and I really appreciate that about you, because I think that one of the things that you've done during the pandemic is you've actually built up a really good social media following. Like, you ask a question and you get a bunch of answers,
Yeah,
including
that's very
among
true.
pros,
I'm sorry, what was that?
including among comics professionals.
That's very true. And I don't know if you know Stuart Ing, but he just joined my Barry Windsor Smith group, which is at like 3,300 members now. And for some reason, that group is just blowing up.
Yeah, man. Like, you just are very engaging, and I think that that's one of the reasons that people like you so much. Look at the people who are talking right now. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
appreciate it, guys.
so I want to congratulate you on that, and I want to say, like, what do you think it is about your social media presence that is so engaging?
Well,
Like, what is
I
your
kind
secret?
of I kind of approach things the opposite of everyone else. Like I do run quite a few groups, and I noticed that for most groups, they select moderators, and those moderators all get like super egos, and they're very like strict about what you post. But I run about 3 or 4 groups now, and I'm pretty much the only person in charge. I don't restrict anybody, no matter what their politics and everything, as long as they're on topic. I just let them say what they want. I'll argue with them, but I won't block their comment or I won't block their art. You know, and I say that like having yourself be in charge of everything is very doable, but everybody seems like they just want numbers. Like if as long as my groups like work, that's all I really want.
Yeah, I think the thing is, for me, is I feel like you're very authentic. Like, when you ask a question like, what are you reading right now? I think you really do want to know what everybody's reading right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's also a thing about mortality is trying to get to know everybody, like outside of comics and stuff. Like I could ask, "Who's your Mount Rushmore of comics or whatever?" But how much is that going to really affect them? You already know that they like comics. Just get to know them and what they're reading, what they're watching, what their favorite food is, even.
But really, who is your Mount Rushmore of comics?
Let's see. Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. Yeah, those two are easy.
You're not gonna answer the next two?
I'm trying to think then because it's a bit of a drop off. But let's throw some writers in there. Well, Eddie Campbell and Alan Moore.
Oh, wow. So, from hell in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, well, there is a Batman story by Eddie Campbell as well.
But that's your Mount Rushmore right there.
As of today, ask me tomorrow, it'll be 4 different guys.
Yeah,
Well, I love Harvey Kurtzman. There you go.
I think, yeah, for me it would be Harvey Kurtzman is way up there. I do think that he is underrated historically at this point.
Yeah. But I just thought of somebody else who's on my Mount Rushmore, but I can't tell you his name. He actually went by like dozens and dozens of different names. He created Herbie Popnecker. He's
Oh,
not
that
the not
guy.
the not the artist who's very celebrated. That's Ogden Whitney, but the actual writer, he wrote most of his comics. He wrote hundreds and hundreds of comics, and they're all very entertaining, which I can't really say about somebody like Stan Lee. I'm not dissing Stan Lee. Shout out to Finger Roth. I'm not one of those bad mouthers, but
No,
yeah,
what you're saying is that you don't actually like super enjoy reading Stan Lee's comics. That's fine.
Yeah, I slogged my way through all 102 Jack Kirby issues of Fantastic Four, and it was quite a chore having to read a lot of his balloons.
No, the trick to reading Stan Lee dialogue is to read it out loud and ham it up.
Good call. You know, I haven't considered that.
But yeah,
Oh,
no,
well,
like yeah, but I think that somebody like Stan Lee, I think his biggest contribution is as a salesman and as an editor.
yeah, absolutely, which are valuable skills. You know, I'm not gonna diss like Stan Lee. I think he's a major player in the industry, or he was at least.
Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, towards the end too, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Still an ambassador. Yeah. So maybe James, when you come to like, do you have any ideas for comics, or like no, any plans to do comics outside of Papa Balloon and Cactus?
Well, I have some individual strips, and I've considered actually keeping that same series going and using those characters. One of them is uh, let me see, what was his name? Oh yeah, Mr. Monkey Bags, who's a Captain America parody, but instead of throwing his shield, he throws monkeys at people.
Where do you come up with these things, with these ideas? Like a sentient balloon. What the hell?
Yeah, it is kind of weird, but I'm not on drugs. Yeah, in fact, I've never done like a single drug, so I'm like the Steve Ditko of the modern era.
That's high praise, James.
Well, what can I say? I love myself. So.
Monica says James is a wonderful FB friend, and I always enjoy the nonsense he posts. But seriously, he's an absolute delight, and his art is wonderful.
Well, thank you, Monica. I appreciate you as well, my friend.
Yeah. If you guys have any more questions for James, please, or any comments for James, just please let us know in the chat. James, what are you reading now?
Let me see. Well, here I'll show you my bookshelf real quick. I don't know if you can see that too well, but
I mean, I can
got
see the shelf.
I've got thousands of comics, and many of them are unread.
So,
But right now, I'm reading
problem.
about the history of comics and comic strips. So a lot of that is very interesting. And I also do a YouTube show as well, like once a month on Richard Friend's channel. Richard Friend is actually drawing the next cover of the regular edition of my comic, by the way. So
really?
shout out to Richard. But we were going to do a show recently about lawsuits in the comics industry. So I tracked down the earliest one, which is actually Mutt and Jeff from like
Really?
from 1915 or so. He was actually hired to do those characters. It wasn't even called Mutt and Jeff yet, but he did a few months of his strip. And he decided on his last day at his company before he went to work for William Randolph Hearst to sign in copyright, whoever, I forget his name now, so later on when he was fired by William Randolph Hearst, he was the very first guy to say, I own these characters. And it was upheld in court. It went on for quite a while, and he owns his own characters. And I believe that was the first successful strip, of the era, which was over 100 years ago, and we still have the same issues, going on in the comics.
No, yeah. Whenever we talk about things like that, like creators being screwed over, there's on one level, it's like, oh, it's terrible that they got screwed over, and then on another level, it's like, God damn it, why are they still getting screwed over?
Yeah, like learn your history.
Yeah, like stop it. Stop
Yeah,
giving
exactly.
these companies your ideas. Yeah,
Yeah,
but like the very first time I've ever heard about that was the Yellow Kid, which is the same thing. Like it went from, I think, from one publisher to William Randolph Hearst, or the other way around.
Yeah, I believe so. In fact, he also created Buster Brown later on, and then he actually used both characters in the same strips.
Yeah, and for a while, like when he switched over, there were two yellow kids running around.
Oh, really? I did not realize that.
Yeah, because he kept on drawing the yellow kid in the new newspaper that he was working at, but like the old newspaper claimed that they owned the yellow kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I really have a lot of history to learn.
That's the I mean, I didn't know what you told me, so we both learned something today.
Yeah.
James, it's a pleasure finally meeting you and having you here. Chauncey Blakey asks, what do you both of you guys see the role of comics on society? Also, James exudes wit and imagination. Well, what do you
Oh,
think?
sure.
The role of comics on society.
I'd say it's kind of like the same thing as professional wrestling, where it's a very it might not have originated in America, but it's a very American flavored like sport and industry. And I don't think they're going away anytime soon in both cases, and they're very different from how they started. Like the older I get, the less I'm into the mainstream stuff. But there's tons of great stuff out there. I love the history and all the old stuff. I think my one of my favorite comics is Gasoline Alley.
Yeah,
And I
we've been posting about that a lot lately.
oh yeah, there's so much beautiful artwork. It is very different than how it had started. And I'd say my favorite wrestler is Terry Funk, so that should tell you, where I lie with the history of that industry as well.
Rest in peace, Terry Funk.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I think when I think comics, I don't just think of American comics, but I think that the question is asking about American comics. Uh I don't really see the role of it as anything different from something like TV or something like other forms of entertainment. I think that it's a medium and you could use it to tell whatever. Some of it could be entertainment, some of it could be lowbrow entertainment, some of it could be, I don't know, from hell.
yeah,
So
and also I'd say that one of the big benefits of comics is comics that actually embrace the storytelling aspects that can only be done in comics, like something like
absolutely.
Promethea, like you remember that infinity symbol that Promethea walked through, like it was a 2-page spread. I don't know if you remember that too well.
Yeah, I remember that
Okay, well,
one very well.
oh yeah, well, I don't know if I know you interviewed Williams, but I didn't make it through that one actually yet, so I don't know if it
Oh,
came up or not.
thanks, James. No,
Yes,
okay, so let me tell you something about that spread, that two-page spread from Promethea, number 14 or something.
yes,
Okay,
sounds about right.
something. So it's a Mobius strip, and they're walking along the Mobius strip. It is the one and only thing Alan Moore claims to have rewritten, because he said that everything was a first draft. And it's the only thing he claims to have rewritten because he wrote a Mobius strip and Jim Williams drew a Mobius strip, but they weren't the same Mobius strip. So it didn't twist in the right place. So the dialogue made no sense. And
Whoops.
Alan was like, well, I'm just going to rewrite the dialogue. I'm not going to make him draw this twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be insane.
That'd be pretty, I thought that was a nice little bit of trivia, but yeah, I do love when comics can do things that only comics can do.
Yeah, like a lot of them are in Scott McCloud's work, ironically, but
Yeah, like I mean, Gasoline Alley does it a lot. Like the things that you have been posting with a single continuous backgrounds, like you can't
yeah,
do that
yeah,
anywhere else.
like broke it up into panels and in big numbers actually did it as well with Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz did it, Chris Ware did it, but like it's such a comics only thing that
Exactly.
I just love looking at it so much.
Yeah, I look at a lot of the mainstream stuff and I don't see too many people experimenting with that kind of thing, which is kind of a shame. It seems like that they're interested in just making like something almost like humdrum and by the numbers, like just to basically be like the pre-idea of a movie.
Yeah, and I see that too. I see that too, not just with the mainstream stuff. I see that with mainstream stuff, and I also see that with like some newer indie type of stuff that was
Yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
like that's just like I'm gonna use this as a pitch for a movie.
Yeah,
And
like that's why I like the '90s. I've been felt so much more experimental.
yeah, I mean, the 90s gets a bad rap, right? But
Well,
there's like
there's two
so
parts of
much.
the '90s. There's the crap and there's the great stuff.
The great stuff is really great.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what were the highlights of the 90s for you?
Well, for me personally, Wandering Star, and Tug and Buster was a huge one. A lot of the indie stuff, even like Hepcat and stuff like that, it just felt more like more creative at the time.
Hepcats was wonderfully underrated. I'm so sad it didn't get to continue.
Yeah, I have some of the college material somewhere on my shelf in that giant mess over there.
Yeah, I feel like it was ahead of its time too. I think like it would be a really big hit now.
Yeah, for sure, and even some of the stuff from the late '80s was really good. I love Bloom County actually. Berkeley Breathed, I believe his
Berkeley
name
Breed,
is.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like for a comic strip that was pretty creative. Calvin and Hobbes, obviously,
Calvin and Hobbes.
was is next level. But before that, I look at like the stuff from the like from the '40s and '30s in comic strips, and I think that the rules weren't in place yet, and it just led to so much more creativity. But now the basic like standard is tell your story like straight and simple, which is a Jim Shooter kind of thing from the '80s as well. But and also in the '90s with Valiant, he actually told Barry Windsor Smith like he didn't want any of that creative bullshit that that he did with his storytelling, like at Valiant, which led to some boring comics in my opinion. Arthur and Armstrong was still fun and all that, and I love it, like the Solar Man of the Atom number 0. But it didn't have the same flow that he would have with like Rune and stuff like that. Like later on, it just like was a lot more flowy.
Yeah, man. Like I think when people talk about how bad the 90s was, like I like to bring up like Sandman was 90s, Calvin and Hobbes was 90s. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. But I do also really enjoy when comics are really innovative. Like one of my favorite comics is, McCloud's Zot. I don't think you can do that anywhere else.
Yeah, I hear you. I know that early on that was pretty straightforward, but the further it goes along, the more experimental it gets.
Absolutely. Yeah. James, so everyone, again, the Kickstarter to Probable and Cactus is in the chat and on the YouTube on the description down below. Feel free to go back it. You are 215 US dollars away from your goal, and so good luck with that.
Well, thank you
I'm
very much.
wishing you the best of luck. If you have any more questions for James, now is the time to ask it. But other than that, James, this has been a pleasure. I'm really glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, hey, likewise. I appreciate talking to you and asking you about your situation lately. And and thank you
I'm
very
all
much.
right. I'm all right.
I'm chill.
I'm chill. I'm good. You have anything else you want to say, James? Anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want people to know about?
Not really. It's all pretty straightforward.
All right, everybody. That was James Windsor Smith. This was a genuine pleasure, James. I'm really glad to have finally, after 4 years, gotten you on the show.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of the show. I think that's. In fact, when I first met you, you weren't even at 1,000 viewers yet, and I remember I campaigned online a bit to try to get you over the hump there. But I don't know how much I really helped or how much came naturally, but I think it was pretty important. Look at your numbers now.
I
Sometimes it's easy to put yourself down and say I should have more numbers and stuff, but you've grown pretty fast, and I think your show is the future of the podcasting or of YouTube shows.
I really appreciate the way you campaigned for this show, early on, because it was really like it was kind of disheartening, right? Like there's a lot of I think we all know that the way to get numbers on YouTube is to be as negative as possible.
Yeah,
And
very true.
it's just really, really disheartening sometimes. But then
Yeah,
to
and
see
sometimes you'll
somebody
have a
like,
great guest on, and your numbers are like super low. Then you'll just do like a general chat, and it's like I've got 2,000 people watching this for some reason. What's up with that?
yeah, I don't understand, right? Like, but
I did an interview on a show recently where I got like 75 views, which nothing to brag about. But then I saw Richard Pace was on the show like a year before, and he had 6 views. After all that time, and it was a good interview. I actually watched the interview, and it was very interesting.
Richard's a great
I
guest.
couldn't even explain that.
Richard's a great guest. I love talking to that guy.
Yeah, yeah, you've had him on.
Yeah. Great show, fellas, since Chauncey. But yeah, so like seeing somebody like you campaign for this was really encouraging, and I really want to thank you for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I totally believe in you, and I really think you've got something here.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, I believe in you too, man.
Well,
Good luck
shucks.
with good luck with the comic.
Well, thank you very much, and go everybody and go buy the new book.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it, James. Take care.
See you later.
I've ended